It is Tuesday, March 29th, 7 p.m. here in Washington, D.C., and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Nation's Pastime in the nation's capital, WCUA's only baseball-centric talk show. I'm your host, Andrew Snaith. As always, joined in the booth with my lovely co-host, James Higgins and Robbie Cruz, and we are in the middle.
Who's back in person this time?
Who is back in person, who will not be calling in via phone tonight. We won't be using the landline. We're very happy to have him back. Very happy that he's not hearing an echo while he talks the entire time. But thank you all so much for tuning in. We are live every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on WCUA Radio, and all of our shows are posted in podcast form the day after on our YouTube channel. You can go ahead and follow our Instagram at NatPastimeCap to be updated on when those go live. At NatPastimeCap is that. Has a link to our YouTube channel, all that good stuff, if you want to listen to the show in podcast form. And we have an exciting show planned for you tonight. As we said last week, we're going to start doing some predictions. We're 2 weeks away, a little less than 2 weeks away from opening day here, about 10 days, 9 days or so, I believe it is. Most of the teams start on Thursday, next Thursday that is. And it's about time. We're going to go ahead, give our standings for the divisions, talk about our postseason picks, and then next week we will go ahead and tackle some of our award predictions and individual player awards as well. So, guys, before we get into that, you want to talk a little bit about spring training, what's been going on, some guys who maybe are impressing you, some guys who are leaving a little bit to be desired, and just other things around the world of baseball. I think we have to start with someone who is leaving a lot to be desired, and someone who looks absolutely lost at the plate, and that's Cody Bellinger. Any thoughts on Cody Bellinger, James?
Cody Bellinger he's like, if you looked at Cody Bellinger this spring and this is your first time watching baseball, you wouldn't think that this is a guy who won an MVP less than 3 years ago. On Saturday night or Sunday afternoon, I'm not sure which one it was, he went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, which brought his total to the spring to 11 strikeouts and 16 plate appearances. It's alarming for a guy who won an MVP in 2019, was a Silver Slugger in 17 and 19, Rookie of the Year in 17, first team All MLB. The list goes on. Many clutch postseason hits, especially in 2020. This is a guy who has tinkered with his stance every single offseason. It's a guy who can't stay consistent with mechanics. It's a guy who's had bad shoulder injuries, a guy who's had a very difficult torn labrum recovery from torn labrum. I mean, that's a difficult injury to come back from, especially as a hitter and as much power as he generates with his swing. But it's a guy who you look at and he's not mechanically sound. And as much as we all love Belly, as much as we all want him to get back to what he was, he's got to pick something and go with it. It's every offseason, it's every season that he's doing something with his legs, with his hands. It's with everything. He's lowering his hands and standing up more straight. Then he's doing an open stance and standing more athletic and holding his hands higher. It's holding his hands lower but bending down. It's something different every single offseason to combat the injury recovery, to combat physical therapy, to combat struggles that he's had picking up pitches. But right now, the gaping hole in his swing from the 2017 postseason that the Astros exposed in the World Series with a breaking ball is being exposed on every single pitch. Can't hit the fastball, can't catch up to velocity, can't hit a breaking ball. This is a former MVP who's only 26 years old and is a Gold Glover at multiple positions, or has the ability to play Gold Glove defense at multiple positions. At no means should the Dodgers give up on him, especially because they're paying him $16 million this year in arbitration. But it's a guy who the Dodgers need to get on track fast, or else they're going to have to find someone else to man center field, in terms of you give him a month or two, and if it's not there, you phantom IL him and you see what you can salvage. Because Bellinger is a guy who should not be given up on, but the Dodgers, as deep as their lineup is, will have to do something if Bellinger is not hitting the ball.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point about the fact that he's always changing something. You've seen pictures of his swing from the past 5 years. It's different in every single one.
Even after his MVP season, he had a disappointing September, so he wanted to change his stance. It's like, why? Why?
Yeah, no, there's
47
no
home runs,
to.
over 100 RBIs, the best hitter in the league. Why change anything?
You know, Robbie, let me ask you about this here. It seems like at a certain point it just becomes completely mental for a guy like him, because you know all the talent's there, and he's shown us that. As James said, this guy is a Most Valuable Player Award winner, Gold Glove defense, Silver Slugger. You know, I guess I have to ask you, do you think this is something that resolves itself in time? You know, only 26, we know what he can do, or is this a case of a guy who quite literally has already peaked?
Yeah, so it's definitely mental at this point. I don't really think it's as much with his swing as people are making it out to be. Is his swing broken? Absolutely. He just looks really lost at the plate, but that's why I think it's mostly mental. My guess is that Bellinger's guessing. I think that he's trying to guess what pitch is coming, and it's very difficult to bounce back from and fix mental issues at the plate. I remember when I played, I was going through some mental issues. Like I was thinking way too much, and it's really difficult to recover and to do better from that. I know James is saying that we shouldn't be giving up on Cody Bellinger. Or at least it's really difficult to, and I would agree with that because he's a former MVP. But at the same time, to me personally, I believe he needs a change of scenery. I believe that he needs to get out of the big spotlight. He needs to go to a smaller market, and he needs to just get things right because right now he's guessing at the plate, and he just does not look right.
But here's the thing with that. This isn't like I agree with what you're saying about maybe he needs a change of scenery, but it's not about not being able to perform in the big market. He's played in 3 World Series, performed well in all of those World Series. He won NLCS MVP in 18. It's not like he can't handle the spotlight. And as big of a mental hurdle as it is right now for Bellinger, because there's obviously a lot of mental issues going on at the plate, a lot of it does also have to come down to mechanics, like not fixing the hole in his swing, doing something different with his hands, with his body. So every single offseason, you're training your body to do something new, and you give yourself a 3-month crash course instead of having 15 years of your muscle memory from what your stance was from when you were 10 years old. And by no means am I giving up on Bellinger, and by no means do any of us want to see him fail. He is one of the most exciting players in the game, especially when he's on. I think we can all remember 2019 very fondly. Belly versus Yelly, the MVP race, how fun that was, how much fun he has on the field, and how great of a player he is. He shouldn't be given up on. The Dodgers should give him every chance this year. 2022 is make or break for Bellinger in LA. If it doesn't work out this year, they're going to have to find a trade partner.
See, do I agree? Okay, yes, I do. He has performed in the big market. There's no denying that. However, I don't think he's ever been in a slump like this. Like, all of last year, he was really bad. The entire pandemic year, he was really bad. So far in spring training, he's looked really bad. And yes, he has performed well in the big market, but that was before this slump was happening. Now that the slump's happening, he's getting bombarded by the media every single day. He's blowing up on Twitter every single day, and people are criticizing him to the very end of it. So that's why I think that this is a mental part. But I do agree. The Dodgers are, I don't know why they keep adjusting his swing. I don't know if it's him, if it's a hitting coach.
I think it's him.
Whoever it is, they need to stop.
It's Belly.
If it's Bellinger, then I don't know why he's been doing it, but to me, at this point, I think it's more mental than his swing, even though I think his swing is broken.
All right, let me wrap up with this question here. We mentioned 2019, great memories, Belly versus Yelly, right? We have two of them, two players right now, both looking to have bounce-back seasons after being a disappointment in 2021. Which one's going to have the better season, Robbie? Who do you think?
Oh, it's definitely going to be Christian Yelich, but I will say this. I think Christian Yelich, I think it's in him mentally too. He's been really bad he wasn't great last year, but 2 years ago he was really bad, right? With Yelich, I don't think he's going to be the same hitter he once was ever again. And I called it once he signed that contract extension.
But Yelich, right now I don't even think it's a debate. Like, Yelich has had 2 down seasons, but they're not even close to the 2 down seasons that Bellinger has had. And I'll go on the complete opposite spectrum of what Robbie has said. I have Yelich winning comeback player of the year in the National League. So
okay.
There you go.
Wow, I think it's a good pick.
Like, he's a former MVP. Probably should have won in 19 if he didn't fracture his shin. He's 31 years old. He's a guy that once he gets it figured out and he knows how bad he was, he's admitted it. I think in every interview that he's done in the last 2 years that he's been bad. And the Brewers need a force in the lineup. They need power. He's got a chip on his shoulder. If they're going to win the division this year and go far, if they're going to go far in the playoffs, they need more than pitching. Yelich is going to win comeback player of the year and have a monster year.
I think it almost has to be one of those two players, so not a bad pick at all.
Well, one other point, though, another reason why I think Yelich is going to be much better than Bellinger is because of the market, like I said. I think with both of them, their big issue is mental, right? I think that Bellinger and Yelich are letting the game get to their head, and that's why they've struggled the last 2 years. Obviously, it's not as difficult to play in Milwaukee as it is in Los Angeles just because of the different media markets. So I think the fact that Yelich is in a smaller market, not as much pressure on him, I think that'll help him.
All right, and just a quick reminder, if you want to call in and talk about Cody Bellinger or anything else baseball-related, that number is 202-319-5106, 202-319-5106 is the number. Guys, anyone in spring training who is, I guess I would say, exciting you, who's off to a really good start? You know, we don't like to read too much into it because it is just spring training, but sometimes some of these guys take these hot starts from the spring and really just carry them into the season. James, anyone from spring training who really stands out to you so far?
Yeah, I actually do have a guy, and it's from Robbie's beloved Pittsburgh Pirates. Longtime joke on the show if you've been listening for a while. But seriously, it's O'Neal Cruz, and they optioned him to AAA today, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I believe that.
And this will be a spoiler alert for this show or next week's show. He's still winning NL Rookie of the Year. I don't care.
No.
I don't care that he got optioned. He's too good to be down in AAA for longer than a month. Like if you're the Pirates, why are you worried about 2028 more than 2022 right now? I understand that they're not contending right now, but you get O'Neal Cruz up there on opening day. You excite the fan base with Brian Reynolds and Cabrian Hayes. You keep building that young core. Like that.
What do you have to lose?
And we just talked about for 3 months in the CBA about manipulation of service time, and this is another prime example that the CBA didn't solve. Teams are still manipulating service time of young players, and O'Neal Cruz. I think we all know he should be up in the big leagues, and he'll, quote, go down and fix some things, and when that clock strikes the day when he can come up, he will be a Pittsburgh Pirate.
Yeah, it's funny because, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing this CBA did in regards to that is it's going to reward the teams that don't do it, but it's not going to punish the teams that do it. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, and again, not every team has done this. The Padres didn't do it with Tatis in 19. The Mets didn't do it with Alonso in 19. It's not just like teams only do this and never get their guys up. But, when you look at the Pirates, they're probably going to trade him anyway before his contract is up unless they are really, really like at the top of the National League. Just get him up here now, excite the fan base, start his development sooner because we all know he's ready to be a major leaguer.
Very good points indeed. Robbie, do you have another point on O'Neal Cruz as a diehard Pirates fan, or do you want to move on with the guy who's impressed you the most?
Actually, I want to know who has impressed you before I go.
After you two, I've got another one.
That's fine.
I have several that I have, but
there's been a lot. I mean,
Bobby Witt Jr. His swing looking like Mike Trout, like the one home run swing that went 470 feet. Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be a problem for a long time, and the Royals aren't manipulating his service time. He will be on the opening day roster.
That's true. Well, so here's the thing. When it comes to spring training, I mean, outside of the highlights, I'm not really watching any of the games religiously. It's always been just a mental thing with me. I can't really get into it as much, other than the Phillies games that I just watch for the main guys. I want to see how they're doing. So forgive my bias, but I will have to pick someone from the Phillies who's excited me. And I mean, it's got to be Bryson Stott. I mean, Bryson Stott's looking like an absolutely professional up there. I mean, guy's got a ridiculous average, something like in the 600s. He's playing third base now because that's what they need him to do. And just every at-bat, he looks like a professional. This guy's working counts. He's putting the ball in play to all fields, and it's something that is very promising to see from a top prospect in the Phillies organization, considering that the majority of them have not worked out.
Do you think he's going to make the opening day roster, and do you think he should start over Alec Baum?
Yeah, so here's the thing about that is earlier today the Phillies did make a trade. They traded Adam Hazley, their center fielder, to the Chicago White Sox, and that was to free up a 40-man roster spot. And a lot of speculation is Bryson Stott has done everything that he needed to do to prove, hey, I'm ready for the 40-man roster spot. They asked Joe Girardi about it, and you can take this how you want because Joe Girardi's not the sole decider here, but he said we're not going to do it. We're not going to manipulate his service time. If he earns the spot, it's his spot. And considering Alec Boehm looks absolutely lost up at the plate, and my guy Jim Salisbury, who only says stuff when there's news, has said multiple times that the Phillies are aggressively trying to trade Alec Boehm, yes, I 100% think the opening day third baseman for the Phillies will be Bryson Stott.
I mean, I want to say that's bold, but I think you're right, man. I mean, Boehm has just looked really lost, but also defensively, he's
always been a lost cause there.
Yeah, he's been a lost cause, so it really doesn't make sense to start. The only reason why you would keep him is so you pray that he can perform well, and then he's got some value to him because his value has really tanked since last year.
And that's the thing. I mean, there's still value there. The guy's only 25, right, and he had a rookie year where he hit almost 340.
If you're the Phillies and you give up on him now, that shows how low his. Why would a team trade for him if you're giving up?
And
on
that's
him
the
already?
other thing, But it comes down to the fact that you can't have both Bryson Stott and Alec Boehm on this team because whichever one doesn't make it needs to be getting regular at bats. They can't be riding the bench.
Would you trade Alec Boehm for Craig Kimbrell?
I don't know.
I hate to put you on the spot there, Andrew.
I mean, I think the trade would have to be a little more involved than just that.
Right.
If I am, let me put myself in Dave Dombrowski's shoes. Yeah, I probably do that. Just because now that you're over the luxury tax, you got to make the playoffs this year, or there's absolutely going to be hell in Philadelphia. So yeah, I probably would do that if I'm Dave Dombrowski. But the problem is, you don't want to give up on him that quickly.
Right.
I'm not willing to completely give up on him. I don't agree with the idea of trading him. The guy is talented as a hitter. He just has has to figure out whatever he had going in 2020. He can't hit fastballs. He cannot hit fastballs. And the fact that he can't field doesn't matter as much if he's hitting 340 like he did in his rookie year, but he's not doing that. And he doesn't have any power either. He does have power, but he hasn't utilized it. It's a very frustrating thing, but point of the matter is Bryson Stott's shown that he's a professional, and I do think he's the opening day third baseman. Robbie, you want to get on to your pick there for your most surprising player so far in spring training?
So I will say this, guys. I am a lot like Andrew, so there's a little bit of bias, okay? I mostly watch the Yankees. I try to tune into the other teams during spring training, but I like to pay attention to the Yankees, and there are a few Yankees who have really impressed me. And I'm not going to talk about the big names because those are easy to look at. You know, I could talk about how Giancarlo Stanton's hitting over the Yankees have 5 guys right now hitting over 400 in spring training. That's a pretty great start, no? So let's talk about some of the non-roster invites, right? There are 2 that have really impressed me, and there's 1 minor leaguer. Actually, no, 2 or 3 minor leaguers have really impressed me. The 2 non-roster invites that have impressed me, the first one is Marwin Gonzalez. I was just raving about him before the show. This guy is going to make the Yankees opening day roster. He has been legit. He is a good backup first baseman to Anthony Rizzo at the moment. I will say this, though. If you had asked me this question last year, you know who I would have said? Who am I really excited about right now before opening day?
Well, it can't be Luke Voigt anymore.
No, if you asked me this question last year at this time.
If you were excited about seeing?
Who am I excited for? Who I think is going to be really good because of spring training? You know who I would have said?
I don't.
Jay Bruce. Okay?
Jay Bruce, that's right.
So I'm trying not to get too excited over Marwin Gonzalez right now because he very well could be Jay Bruce 2.0. So I'm excited about Marwin Gonzalez. I'm very impressed by Manny Benuelas. Benuelas, I don't know what's been going on with him, but the man he's been great so far for the Yankees. And then in terms of minor leaguers, I was just talking about this before the show, but Davy Garcia. Last year, Davy Garcia was throwing between 91 and 92 miles an hour. The other day, the dude was throwing 95 or 96 miles an hour. I don't know what Matt Blake did to him, but things look great right now. I'm also very excited for Anthony Volpe. This is the first time I've really gotten to watch him play consistently, and Volpe has just looked absolutely incredible. Man's fast, great defender, and he can really hit. That's everything the Yankees need right now. So one final guy I want to talk about, Isaiah Feiner-Khalifa. That man has looked
other way around.
amazing.
Kiner Falefa.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I wasn't thinking right there. That man right there has looked amazing so far. He's hitting the ball well. He's slapping the ball. He's playing gold glove defense so far in spring training, which is what we expected. So if he can perform, if he can hit, let's say, 280 and play solid defense, that's amazing right there. That right there is what the Yankees need. Those Yankees have really excited me.
Well, if you have any spring training players that have really excited you thus far you want to talk about, go ahead and call us, 202-319-5106. We'd love to hear from you and see who you are most excited watching. There's a lot of names out there. There's been a lot of people with some very good spring trainings as we approach opening day, so feel free to call in, 202-319-5106 is that number. Guys, why don't we jump in then to the predictions? I mean, this is something that I think we can very well talk about for the next 40 minutes, probably beyond, so let's start it off. We have prepared our standings for each of the divisions throughout the National and American League. We have our 3 wildcard teams now. Yes, that is correct. We have 6 teams in each league that will be making the postseason, the 3 division winners and 3 wildcard teams to make up the 12 total. And then we're going to give you our pennant winners and our World Series. We'll spare you going round by round just because of the fact that now that there's going to be an added one, it's going to be just a little bit more tedious and unpredictable. So we'll go ahead and give the pennant winners and the World Series picks there. Robbie, why don't we start it off with you? Do we want to do AL or NL first when we are approaching this?
I think we should start with the AL. I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident about my AL predictions. I don't know about you, James and Andrew, but I'm feeling pretty good about mine.
I'm going to be honest. I said this before the show. I don't feel confident at all at this, especially because of the American League East. I mean, the 2 guys sitting next to me would know this better than anyone, but this division is ridiculously loaded. Like, you could flip a coin, I think, for who's going to be in what playoff spot. My question to you is, before we get into it, Robbie, do you have 3 or 2 teams from this division making the playoff? Because I think you could have 4 as well, but I don't know. Are you gonna wait, James? Is that a spoiler? Do you say you have 4 on your list?
I'm just saying you could have 4.
You can make the case for that, but at what point do they start beating up on each other too much?
I have 3.
You have 3. Well,
3.
why don't we get right into it? What's the division order for the American League East?
Before I say this, I really think that my standings list is going to be controversial.
Oh, boy.
I know I've said some controversial things in the past
Never.
regarding my standings.
Never.
Okay, we're going to ignore 2019, but
Actually, that was 21.
That was 2021, yeah.
you know what? We're going to ignore that year, okay?
Are the Orioles going to finish in front of the Boston Red Sox in 2022?
He's going to say yes.
It's going to happen, man. I'm telling you. Okay, so first place, I think, is going to be the Blue Jays. I think Charlie Montoyo, their manager, is going to win Manager of the Year.
Wow.
I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to potentially hit 55 to 60 home runs this year. He is a man on a mission.
Talk about a guy who looks good in spring training, too.
He has been amazing. Their starting pitching, incredible. The lineup, incredible. The only questions that we have is the bullpen. Their bullpen really didn't get that much worse from last year, and they managed to win 91 games last year. Blue Jays coming in first place. A close second place, Tampa Bay Rays. You know, the Rays really didn't do much this offseason, didn't lose much. They made a few trades. They only gained Corey Kluber, so they're running out a pretty similar team to last year. I cannot put the Rays in third place. I'm sorry. But they are not better than the Toronto Blue Jays. The Rays are going to finish in second place. I have the Rays winning 93 games this season. I have the Blue Jays winning 101. Okay?
That's a lot.
You have 101 in that division?
Yep. This team is legit. That's because my bottom 2 teams are going to be trash this year. Number 3.
Here we go. Well, this is going to tell us right here.
I mean, like, I don't really care what it is because clearly it was wrong last year, so I'm not too worried about it.
This is going to happen.
Yep.
Third place, the New York Yankees.
Okay, there we go.
Yankees are getting third place this year. Boston Red Sox are going to be fourth place. The Red Sox rotation is absolute garbage. I'm sorry. The fact
Wait, really? Okay, I'll let you finish.
James Paxton, Rich Hill, Michael Wacha, those guys are in the starting rotation in 2022. Chris Sale's missing the beginning of the season. And also, we already have questions about their bullpen. So, what do they do to address their starting lineup? They added Trevor Story. We know what I think of Trevor Story. I called in last week. So, the Red Sox are going to be...
Whether Trevor Story's deal is bad in 2028 doesn't reflect this season.
No, I said it's a risk because he wasn't good outside of Coors Field last week. But, you know, I think that's a more extended conversation we'll have to have for another time. But the Red Sox are going to be in fourth place. I think that they are going to be the most disappointing team in baseball this season. And there's no bias in that whatsoever. I have statistics. I have a lot of facts that make me believe that. And then in last place, it's going to be the Baltimore Orioles.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
It could be close.
You know what? If Adley Rutschman comes up and hits 70 home runs, they might finish ahead of the Boston Red Sox. So that's my ALEs. Blue Jays, Rays, Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles, right there. And that's going to happen. I guarantee it. You heard it here first.
Robbie Cruz guarantees it, so that's what's going to happen here. I mean, James, is there even a reason for us to give our predictions? Because we just got a Robbie Cruz guarantee. So
yeah, we'll see.
Well, that's it, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. James, why don't you go ahead and give us your AL East? I'm going to assume that it's slightly different.
Yeah, I've got the Blue Jays winning the East. They are incredibly loaded. They added it at essentially every position that they needed to add. They have a top 3 player in baseball in Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Their rotation is filthy. They're going to have a full season of Barrios, a full season of Alek Manoah, Kikuchi coming along. You know, I mean, he's going to be your 4-starter. Kevin Gossman. Mm-hmm. That rotation from top to bottom is absurd. And then you look at the lineup with Guerrero, and they're expecting a bounce back from Kevin Biggio, of course, Bo Bichette. Hopefully a healthy George Springer for them. I mean, he got hurt last year twice, but when he was healthy in the lineup, he was unstoppable for multiple stretches last year. They're going to be playing all 81 games at the Rogers Center. Last year they played home games at 3 different sites. I think finally having some stability is going to be huge for them. And last year they won 91 games when they were young and they weren't ready. They're ready for the stage this year. They are going to win the AL East. And it's a tough division to predict. Any 4 of these teams could win the division.
Yeah.
But I think Toronto right now, top to bottom, has the best team. Yes, the bullpen is a question mark, but I think overall the Blue Jays will put it together and win the division. I've got the Red Sox finishing in second place. They were 2 games away from the World Series last year. They added Trevor Story to the infield. Chris Sale will be back by the middle of May. They've got Nathan Eovaldi in the rotation, obviously, who was 4th in Cy Young voting last year and beat Garrett Cole in the wild card game. Tanner Houck will be an addition to the rotation. Of course, James Paxton coming back in July will bolster either the bullpen or the rotation wherever he fits in. The Red Sox aren't done adding to the rotation. They might be done in terms of the opening day roster, but in terms of the trade deadline, you have 4 months until July 31st. So they'll address whatever needs they need to address. Garrett Whitlock's going to be in the bullpen. They need Matt Barnes to rediscover the All-Star form, but in terms of the lineup, it's still a top 3 lineup in baseball. When you look at Devers, Bogarts, Martinez, and Trevor Story, there are 6 guys since the start of 2018 who have an average of above 275, more than 90 doubles, more than 90 homers, and have an on-base percentage of greater than 375. 4 of those guys are the guys who I just mentioned. They're in the Red Sox lineup. It's absurd, and I think the offense will do damage again this year, and they'll continue to build on last year when they were ahead of schedule. Third place, I've got the New York Yankees.
Wait, you mean fourth place?
In third place, I've got the New York Yankees.
No.
You heard me.
No way.
In third place, I've got the New York Yankees.
Ahead of the Rays?
Yeah.
Please explain.
The New York look, the Yankees are a good team. They made the wild card game last year. They have a strong rotation. They have a solid lineup, obviously. You have Stanton, you have Judge, you have Joey Gallo looking for a resurgence and a bounce-back season. After he came over to New York, he wasn't what he was in Texas, but I think a full season there will help him. After Cole, you obviously still have your typical questions in the rotation, but they're a team that has a good enough offense and a good enough bullpen to be able to get through the season. In fourth, in an ultra-competitive division, I've got the Tampa Bay Rays, and that's not to say they're going to finish under 500. That's going to say they're probably going to finish with, around 87 to 90 wins, but possibly miss the playoffs just because of how tough the division is. I mean, you look at Toronto last year, missed it with 91 wins. That's not a knock on the Rays, and they won 98 games in 19. They would have won 120. I think they won 38 in 2020, and then they won 100 last year. At some point, without star power outside of Wander Franco, you're due for a bit of a fallback. It's Kiermaier's last year. He's aging. You're going to have a full season of Wander Franco, which is tremendous. You're going to have a full season of Shane McClanahan in the rotation, which, again, he's awesome, but you look at the lack of star power, at some point that is going to catch up. Tyler Glasnow missing the full season because of Tommy John surgery. Last year, he went down on June 14th. From June 15th on, the Rays' starting rotation ERA was above 4.5. I don't think a lot of people realize that because they were on cruise control the majority of the year, and they had built such a big lead. But without Glasnow in the rotation, yes, they have a full season of Shane Baz and a full season of Shane McClanahan. But guess what? You need Tyler Glasnow. You need your horse. You need your ace. Those two are filthy, but they haven't stepped up as a horse. I think the Rays are going to finish in fourth, and last I have the Orioles in fifth.
Well, I got to say, that is quite shocking. I mean, it's even more shocking considering the predictions that I'm about to give here, and I think it just speaks to how ridiculous this division truly is. So here we go. The Tampa Bay Rays are my division winners, and I got to be honest, how many times, guys, are we going to take a look at the Rays and say, you know what, this is a bunch of nobodies, right? They did good last year, but they don't have stars, and they're not going to repeat that success. How many times do we have to do this? Because they've done it 3 years in a row now, and they're going to do it for a fourth year in a row. This is an incredibly talented ball club that is going to find a way to win. They just are. And we're at the point where I think you have to start being like this. This is a team that doesn't need a star to be ridiculously successful, and I have them as my division winner. It's going to be very close. I gotta point out here, it's within a game or two of almost all of these teams, considering how talented they are. Number 2, I do have the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a ridiculously loaded team, and the only reason I don't have them winning is because the pitching scares me more than I think it scares other people. The bullpen, besides Romano, obviously is not the best. I do, however, think a guy who's going to really unlock his potential in the bullpen this year to keep an eye on, Nate Pearson. This guy was meant to be a reliever, honestly. If he can figure it out in the bullpen, that's going to be huge for the Blue Jays, and that might be the reason they win the division if he does. But that back end of that rotation, it's balanced. Yusei Kikuchi does not. I don't like him. He scares me. This guy is not very good. Okay,
I'm having him as a fifth starter,
as a number 5 starter, he's still
behind Ryu, Gossman, Barrios, and Manoah.
The problem is, I don't even think that go up to the one above him. I mean, I don't even think that that's as solid as it could be. I mean, Ryu, I still think he's a guy who got a contract because of one season he had.
Can I say something about Kikuchi quickly?
Yeah, of course.
I think you do bring up a good point because he was pitching at T-Mobile Park, which is considered a pitcher's park, and now he's going to Rogers Center, which is more of a hitter's park. So, and he had a ERA over 4 last year, so I do see the concern, but He was still an all-star. I
He-
think you got to give him a little bit of respect.
Well, yeah, he was an all-star because, I mean,
Seattle needed one.
yeah, and at the time,
Hey.
Seattle was not that great.
You know what? We don't need to worry about that. He
Which
was
is
an
weird,
all-star.
by the way, with the Mariners, considering how they ended the season. But at the time, yeah, I mean, they needed someone to pick. Here's my thing with him: long ball. Okay, I really don't like his relationship with the long ball. This guy is a pitch to contact guy. He doesn't strike out a ton of guys anymore. I mean, he's like a different pitcher over here in America. If you watched his game the other day, it was actually against the Phillies. This guy was just hanging curveballs over the plate left and right. I mean, it scares me. And again, the Blue Jays are a ridiculous team. That offense is absolutely loaded. Putting Matt Chapman on top of what they already had, absolutely ridiculous. And they're going to win a lot of games. I just think they're second place. Third place, I mean, here we go. This is where it's just going to be the different thing here between all of us. I do have the New York Yankees in third place, and I want to point out here that the divide between them and the Boston Red Sox, who I obviously have in fourth and not behind the Orioles in fifth, is probably a half a game or something like that, right? Like, because they're very similar to me. You have a Red Sox offense who is incredibly loaded and I think very well could finish in third. The problem is, just like Robbie brought up, I have so many question marks with that pitching, and I have no doubt that they will address what they need to at the deadline, because that is something that I believe Heimblum will do. But it's the veterans, like Robbie said. I don't really trust them. I don't think they're going to have years that really are productive, and Chris Sale's status still just very scary to me. But just talking about the Yankees for a second, I really did like the additions that they made this offseason. You know, if you looked at Yankees Twitter, you would really think that this team is about to lose 100 games. But I think a lot of people are forgetting they didn't really need to add a superstar, right? We've said so many times on here, these Yankees are not George Steinbrenner's Yankees anymore, and that's okay. This is a different era of Yankee baseball, right? And they don't need to be that anymore. They have an incredibly talented team. They have a team that's going to field, 4 to 5 players who are making around $20 million. I mean, they didn't need a superstar. They made additions that I think were good. They made additions that I think will be enough to put them within a game over the Red Sox and take the third place crown. And then, going fifth, of course, then the Baltimore Orioles, nothing really going on there, unfortunately. Yeah, so that's the AL East. I mean, I guess we're going to have to move a little quicker through the other divisions.
And then
here.
after we go through all three divisions, we just list our 6 playoff teams, right?
Yes, 100%. We'll go with that.
So, with the rest of them, let's just list the teams. We won't go into as much
Yeah,
depth
well,
about why.
the good thing is I don't really think there's as much to talk about in
Right.
the other divisions besides maybe the NL East.
Maybe then at least we can talk a little bit about that. And
Yeah,
go through the
I
rest
mean,
of the
moving
divisions.
on, moving on to the AL Central, I think everyone here has the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah,
okay,
the Chicago White Sox
Chicago.
are the best team in that division.
Yeah.
In a rebuilding division. They'll win that division.
They'll win the division. Now, why don't we go to you, Robbie? I'd love to hear the rest of the order because you have 2 teams under them that I feel like you could make an argument, hey, watch out for them,
So the second best team in that division is the Minnesota Twins after adding Carlos Correa, improving their starting rotation immensely, and there's a lot of promise with that team. I think that they have the potential to do really big things, to be quite frank. I think that they could get a wild card spot. Then third place, you got the Guardians. Then the last 2 teams are the Tigers and the Royals. The Tigers did add Javier Baez and Eduardo Rodriguez, but that's really it. I don't think that's enough to solve their issues. They were much better last year, though. I will give them credit.
Yeah, they were better than I think a lot of people thought they would be.
Well, we can all agree, though, that Kansas City's going to be in last, though.
That's
okay.
Unfortunately not a question. Unfortunately for Zach Greinke.
Unfortunately. You could make the argument, in my opinion, that the Tigers could be better than the Guardians, but to me, the White Sox and Twins are better than them, especially one of my predictions for MVP, I think Carlos Correa could be an MVP contender. He's due for an MVP, and this is a great chance to do it at a hitter's ballpark.
Well, that would be a perfectly timed event for him, considering he would opt out and then probably get $350 million.
Exactly. So it's a prediction.
Don't count it out. James, is that order looking the same for you, or you're changing
I've
it up at all?
I've got a switch. I've got the White Sox in first. I've got the Twins in second. I've got the Tigers in third.
Yeah.
I've got the Guardians in fourth, and I have Kansas City rounding out the division, finishing in last.
Yeah, I have the exact same list as James. I think you could go either way with the Tigers and the Guardians. My thing is just, I do like the additions they made, and I do think some of their young guys are going to step up. I mean, have you been seeing the stuff about Green and Torkelson? I mean, they do look pretty good. And if they're going to be called up this year, if they're going to play full time, I mean, this could be a team that is pretty sneaky.
The Tigers are going to be really good next year. They're still a year ahead of schedule.
Yes.
Torkelson and Green and whatever they do at the trade deadline this year to bolster next year's team, another full season of Casey Mize, they're going to be really good next year.
I agree.
In a weak division.
I 100% agree. And I love that they weren't afraid to go out and get Eduardo Rodriguez, get Javier Baez, get Tucker Barnhart, and be like, hey, you know what? It might not be this year, but we're loading up pieces for when everyone's ready to go in 23.
And I'd love to see Torkelson make the opening day roster. Dude's going to mash.
You think he will? I mean, there's not really a whole lot of reason to do it if we're being honest, if you're the Tigers.
No, there's not. I'd love to see it. Why not? Just love to see get the growing pains out of the way early, so then when they really are ready to compete, he can be full bore and just ready to roll next year.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this is the final season of Miguel Cabrera's contract, or does he have one
he's got
more?
like 2 more years.
He has 2 more years.
2024.
Well, then I will say this: at least we will get to see his 3,000th hit this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think he's 8 hits away.
8 hits away, yeah. So that'll be cool. 3,500, first ballot Hall of Famer for Miguel Cabrera as an era comes to an end in Detroit and a new one begins. So without talking any more about a rather lackluster AL Central, let's go to the AL West. Robbie, again, why don't we walk through your list real quick?
Yeah, so this one I think is actually more debatable than people may give it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Astros winning the division. I have a team that's going to be very sneaky and I think will get a playoff spot. The Seattle Mariners, finishing second place. They are legit. Adding Jesse Winker, they added somebody else. I feel. Oh, Robbie Ray, obviously.
Suarez.
Suarez too. Like they had some really good pieces.
Frazier.
Adam Frazier.
Oh, forgot about that one.
I forgot about that one too. They are going to finish in second place, right behind the Astros. They could take that division though, but I think that the Astros will win it at the end of the day. Third place, I have the Texas Rangers. Fourth place, Angels, and then last place, the Oakland Athletics.
Wow, that's pretty bold.
What's so bold about it?
My thing is, I think this is finally the year where the Angels prove that, hey, we're gonna make the playoffs.
I'm still I'm
concerned about health, or is it pitching?
Health. It's kind of both. I mean, the back end of the rotation, I still have question marks about. I think Patrick Sandoval is going to go off this year, by the way. But I like Ohtani, Sandoval, and then Syndergaard. But then after that, I'm not sure what to make out of it.
But you gotta love what they did with the bullpen.
I like the bullpen, yeah, but I still do have concerns about Mike Trout and his health. The dude, I think he's hurt again right now. Or I saw that they're considering moving him out of center field to preserve his health.
I think that was a rumor. I don't think they're actually. Doing
I don't know what's going on. Plus, quick point. I think Joe Madden is one of the most overrated managers in baseball. Like, I do not think he knows how to manage a team properly.
Yeah,
very old school, but we don't have to get into that. So that's my. Those are my predictions.
All right, James. AL West. I'm assuming we have another division title for the Astros for you as well.
The Astros will win their 6th division title in a row, whatever it is. The Astros, I've got the Mariners in 2nd, the Angels in 3rd, the Rangers in 4th, and the Oakland Athletics in 5th.
I have the Astros winning again their 6th straight division as well, followed by the Angels in 2nd, the Mariners in 3rd, Rangers in 4th, and the A's in 5th. I like the Angels this year. Look. The Angels have the pieces.
You have the
One
Angels
of
in
these
2nd?
years, I do. One of these years, they have to do it. I think Sandoval steps up, like Robbie said. I really like Syndergaard signing because I think he's going to have a full season of health and really try to earn a massive contract at the end of the season on his 1-year prove me deal. Obviously, we know what Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout can do if they're healthy, and Anthony Rendon's going to have a bounce back. And another guy, Walsh. I absolutely love Jared Walsh on that team.
You said if they're healthy.
Of course. I mean, if you think about it, any team's success is based on if they're healthy. I think finally this is the year where you have Trout and Ohtani are both healthy at the same time. Rendon is behind them. And if they are, that's an incredible baseball team because I think not enough people are recognizing how good the bullpen could be. I mean, they really improved that bullpen.
Okay, so if you're going to say that about health, I don't want health impacting your decision with the NL East. I don't want it to impact your decision, Andrew.
Health is going to impact any decision.
But you were just saying that didn't impact the Angels, though. Like, because you said...
I said if, yeah. It's a factor for any team.
Okay, so we're going to assume everybody's healthy.
No, that's not what I said. Look, I don't get what you're saying because any baseball team to be successful has to be healthy. It's almost like it's an uncontrollable.
But what I'm saying is I have concerns about the Angels staying healthy.
Oh, okay. So you specifically think some of their more injury-prone guys are going to...
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
And I'm saying, I cross your fingers, Angels fans. I don't think that'll be the case this year.
Okay, so you don't think guys are going to get injured?
I have no way of knowing. I hope not. Because, look, this is an Angels team that deserves to get to the playoffs for the sole fact that they have the 2 generational talents on their team that need to see it. And, by the way, one more thing before we move on to the NL. If Mike Trout gets hurt this year, this might be the hottest take we've ever had on the show. If he gets hurt this year, I seriously start getting concerned about his Hall of Fame track.
Oh, are you kidding me?
What?
He could get hit by a bus tomorrow and make the Hall of
Are
Fame.
you kidding me?
What do you mean? He's 30 years old. He's 31 years old. He's won 3 MVPs. I don't even know how many silver
What
sluggers.
milestones is he going to hit?
3 MVPs alone warrants you getting into the Hall of Fame.
He's been the best player of the last decade.
The dude can't stay on the field.
Yeah, okay.
This is only
This
the second
is
year
a
where he's been
hypothetical
injured,
that
though.
this is a hypothetical that we shouldn't get into because he's still going to play for 10 more years.
Oh, well, no, I hope so, and I agree. I think he will, but at a certain point, you have to start getting worried about Mike Trout.
I'm not worried about his Hall of Fame legitimacy. I'm not worried because to be a Hall of Fame player, you have to be the best in the game or the best at your position for at least 5 years or more. And Mike Trout has been the best in the game since 2012.
Say that to the number of players, though, who have done that same thing as him and aren't in the Hall of Fame.
But none of them
Because
have
they
won
didn't
3
hit
MVPs.
milestones.
None of them have
So
won
the 3
MVPs.
MVPs, fine.
The 3
I'll give you
MVPs.
that.
But
Like that's
also,
the second most of all time.
Yeah, I'm aware.
You know what I think it is? I still think he's a Hall of Famer, but I don't think you can put him in the conversation for the greatest of all time. I think that's a more fair
Sure,
assessment.
that's a more fair assessment. That's fine. The MVP argument I get, and that could probably put him in the Hall of Fame alone. But anyway, we'll move on to the National League now.
Are we going to give our playoff teams? Or we'll do it at the end?
We'll do it at the end. We'll do it at the end with all of them. NL East, I think, is the only other one that we can really spend a whole lot of time on here. I mean, the other divisions outside of the AL and NL East, I mean, hey, if you're a fan of a East Division baseball team this year, it's going to be some nail-biting games, it seems like. And we have a case, once again, in the National League East where three teams could legitimately make the playoffs. James, why don't you take us away?
Yeah, so 3 teams can legitimately make the playoffs. And spoiler alert to later in the show, I do have 3 NL East teams making the playoffs. So don't get hurt about the order if I don't have your favorite team winning the division, because the top 3 teams in that division will make the playoffs. They will all be separated by 4 games or less. So there you go. It'll be very tight. It could go either way. I've got the Mets finishing in first place. They added Scherzer. They have DeGrom, hopefully, who stays healthy, which is the best 1-2 punch in the game. I think if you ask the majority of fans, they'll tell you the same thing. Hoping that Taijuan Walker can repeat the first half of what he did last season throughout the entirety of the season. The addition of Chris Bassett for the rotation is huge for their depth. Francisco Lindor is a guy who's a prime bounce-back candidate and has looked good so far this spring. Obviously, as long as Pete Alonso is healthy and there aren't any lingering effects from the car accident, which there don't seem to be any lingering effects, he should have a monster year. Both he and Dom Smith can now be in the lineup now that we have the universal DH. Jeff McNeil is a prime bounce-back candidate. J.D. Davis, if you have J.D. Davis, your 6-hitter, solid piece. I still think they might jump in and nab Conforto before the season starts on a 1-year or 2-year prove-it deal with an opt-out after 1. You never know. The Mets lineup is deep. They have a good rotation. I've got the Mets winning the division. I have they're winning the division. Second and third place, I think, will be separated by a game. I have the Atlanta Braves finishing in second, the Phillies in third, all 3 making the playoffs, the Marlins in fourth, the Nationals in fifth. And guess what? All 3 of those top 3 teams will win 90 games.
Andrew, I think that you should go next because I think that you might have a more passionate answer.
No. And this is like me having the Phillies finishing in third. This has nothing to do with Andrew. They could easily finish in second. They could easily win the division. I have them winning more than 90 games and making the playoffs. So there you go.
I have nothing wrong with
90
anything
on the dot. Whatever it may be.
I have nothing wrong with anything you said. You have 3 teams that could win the division easily. I don't have the Mets winning the division, however, and I don't have the Phillies either. I mean, the Atlanta Braves, guys. Look, this is a very talented team, even without Freddie Freeman. This is a team that added Matt Olson, probably the best possible replacement out there for him, and then also went out and bolstered the bullpen. I mean, Kenley Jansen is their closer, and they didn't even need him. They didn't need another closer, but they got one. And, I just think it's hard to see any team besides them winning the NL East division.
Especially with Acuna back by, May 1st, middle of May,
so
like
he's going to... Correct me if I'm wrong, he's going to DH to start out.
Yeah, as he should.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So they still have his bat in the lineup, even though he's not playing the field. And when he comes back mid-May to play the field, that's even more.
Oh, no, I don't think he's coming back until May to play the field.
Oh, I thought they mentioned they're going to have him DH before that.
He's not going to be on open. No. I think he's going to DH before he takes the field, but I don't think he's going to make the opening day roster. It'd be too soon.
Okay, that's fair, yes. Then yes, he will DH when he comes back in May, but that's still only a month. By the time he is back on the field, I mean, that's even more of an added boost. Just talk about a guy like Austin Riley as well, who really showed us who he was last year. Incredibly talented club, and as much as I passionately hate them, I think they are the best team in the NL East. Finishing second, I do have the Philadelphia Phillies. Again, as James said, by 1 game. I do think the Mets will be third, and I'll just talk about the Mets first. Besides of me using my normal argument of they're the Mets, something will happen, because I do think that is the case. Age concerns me. There's two things that concern me with the team, age and pop, okay? Because they have not a lot of pop in that order. Lindor didn't look great last year. Smith did not have the same kind of year he had in 2020, which is fine because, it was a strange year. And Pete Alonso, of course, is there. Pete Alonso, we know what Pete Alonso can do. He has pop. But I think that's going to catch up to them. You have a 3, 4, 5, 6, if you will, of you take a look at the Braves, and this isn't in any order of the batting order, but you have a core of Acuna, Riley, Olsen, incredible. You take a look at the Phillies, Schwarber, Harper, Albies, Schwarber, Harper, Castellanos, Hoskins, Real Muto. I just think both of those cores are just so much better than what the Mets have to offer, and I don't really have a whole lot of faith in Francisco Lindor bouncing back. So moving back then to the Phillies in second place, the Phillies are going to try to play a game where, hey, can we outslug literally all of our other problems? And I think they can. If you've watched them in spring training, they've been decimating teams. They've been giving up a crap ton of runs, but they've been decimating teams with their bats. And Nick Castellanos looks absolutely locked in. This guy's going to fit like a glove in that lineup right behind Bryce Harper as a guy who not only can hit 30 to 35 home runs, drive in 100, but also hit for average, get on base, find the gaps. This guy uses the field in a way I've never seen before. It is truly special to be able to watch him, and it's going to be truly special to watch him in Citizens Bank. Schwarber at the top of that lineup, just the unbelievable amount of pop and on base that provides the Phillies. This is a team that was leading off with Odubel Herrera for most of the year last year. Guy cannot get on base anymore. Guy can barely hit, and don't get me wrong, the deal that they brought him back on was a good one, but he's not a leadoff hitter. Their leadoff position has been incredibly weak for the past 3 years, and that seems to be solved with Kyle Schwarber. And then you have the National League MVP batting in the middle of that lineup, which I'd like to point out, guys, he did what he did last year with no protection. Hoskins went down. Real Muto was bad in the second half. That's it. Our starting lineup had Ronald Torreyes, Matt Vierling. It had some ridiculous names in it. Jorge Bonifacio.
Oh, come on. Jorge Bonifacio is a legend. Come on.
That's what I'm saying. He did all this with no protection. He now around him will have any combination of Schwarber, Real Muto, Hoskins, Castellanos. That's absolutely ridiculous. Imagine the pitches he's going to see, and that's going to be all the difference.
Or that the other guys will see.
You have to pitch to somebody. And that's my biggest thing. Again, you can call me a homer if you want to, but this is a baseball team that you just signed Kyle Schwarber, fine. That's a good team. I don't really think they're going to take down the Mets or the Braves or make the playoffs. It was a good move, but it's not enough. You signed him and Castellanos. This is an elite offense up there with the greatest in Phillies history. And given... We'll talk about health here for a second. If their starting pitching is fine, they don't have a whole lot of depth after their main 5 guys. Their main 5 guys are very good. And, of course, it's going to come down to whether or not the veterans in the bullpen can really shine. One quick final note with the Phillies. Sir Anthony Dominguez hasn't given up a single run yet in spring training. And, of course, you don't want to base everything on that. But this guy, after missing the past 2 years with either injury or visa problems or whatever it may be, looks like he's finally ready to return to form and be a true X factor for this bullpen. One final thing with the NL East. Marlins will come in fourth. I've been seeing people saying the Nationals are going to come in fourth. The Nationals are a god-awful baseball team. They are not going to finish in fourth place. They will finish in last. They will sell off everything they have that is worth something except for Juan Soto at the trade deadline, and they will finish in dead last and lose well over 100 games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they signed Nelson Cruz. They signed Steve Cishek.
And they'll all be gone in July.
You could even argue Sean Doolittle at that point. They signed those guys just to trade them. The Washington Nationals are rebuilding. You absolutely cannot.
And that's fine because in 2 to 3 years you hope they're back. But this is not going to be a fun year for Nationals fans. I'm sorry to say.
Hey, they got the new cherry blossom jerseys.
They got the new cherry blossom jerseys that do look pretty cool.
The cherry blossom City Connect jerseys are sick. But look, they still have. Compared to the rest of the NL East teams besides Atlanta, they still have the 19 World Series, so I think that'll serve their fans well until 2025.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Well, at least serve them well until hopefully they get an extension done with Juan Soto as well, if whether or not they give him his $500 million. But that's besides the point, so there's, I think we've pretty much all said that we think 3 teams are making the playoffs from there, but we'll move on to... Did you give your picks?
No, I didn't give them.
Oh, I apologize, Robbie.
No, because I wanted to hear your picks.
You did, that's right. I apologize. Right. Go right ahead.
I want to go pretty quick with this one. So I got the Atlanta Braves winning the NL East. Matt Olson is winning MVP. You heard it right here, right now.
Okay.
Matt Olson is MVP. Second place.
Wait, hold on. Will Braves fans forgive the front office if he does that?
No.
Okay. That's true.
I don't think so. I mean, honestly, I don't really care, but we'll see. Second place. This is assuming that like everybody's going to be healthy, and I'm hoping that everybody stays healthy. I think the Mets are the second best team if they can't stay healthy. I do have a lot of concerns with their health, just like I do with the Angels. Starling Marte is already down. I have concerns about Max Scherzer with the shoulder, the back. Jacob deGrom's obviously had arm issues in the past. Who knows what's going on with Pete Alonso, Jade. You just never know. So if they can't stay healthy, they're the second best team. They have a really good bullpen too, by the way. I think it's underrated. Third place, I got the Phillies. I think defense is going to cost them a lot of games this year. I am pretty concerned about it, so they're going to be in third place. Fourth place, Marlins. Not much of a debate, in my opinion, in last place, the Nationals. The Marlins will have a Rookie of the Year on their team, but I will share that for next week.
I do want to say, before we move on, just on the defense, I've been hearing the narrative so much. The only thing the Phillies did was replace McCutchen with Schwarber. They didn't get that much worse.
But Castellanos is going to
But
be
he's
playing
not
every
going
day.
to be. He's not going to be playing the field. He's going to be DH.
Hold up.
Oh, they're not going to have Schwarber DH? They're going to have...
The plan is to have Schwarber have the majority time in left field, but they will swap throughout the year. My thing is, you're replacing McCutchen, who wasn't that great and was aging, with a guy, one of the two guys who is slightly worse. That's the only change they made. It's not like they got drastically worse. So, my thing is, is it going to affect them that much, especially if Alec Boehm's not playing third base?
The 2020, maybe 2021 Yankees were one of the worst defensive teams I've ever seen. It cost them a lot
They
of
made
games.
the playoffs, though, didn't they?
They made the playoffs, but that to me, that
They
team
had
was
a
more
good
talented.
offense, didn't they?
But a better bullpen, a better rotation. Just defense is important. Let's just say that. I don't think it's going to. I don't know. I hope it doesn't cost Phillies a playoff spot, but we'll have to see.
All right, we'll go through the other two divisions here quickly. Thought that might happen with the NL East there. NL Central, I guess I'll just quickly give my picks here. I do have the Brewers going ahead and winning that division. The Cardinals in second place. The Cubs in third. Reds in fourth. Pirates in fifth. Robbie, I'm so sorry for that last one. I know it hurts you.
My Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, come on.
I mean,
now.
they do have Dan Vogel back. That's very exciting. So maybe you'll be able to watch him until he's traded.
Let's go Bucks. Brian Hayes, too. The man's going to go off this year. I mean, we'll see. So should I go second then?
Yeah,
or
go
James,
ahead.
Okay. All right, so this division I don't think is really debatable. I maybe have one surprise. There were two that I was debating between. I think the Cardinals are definitely going to win the division. I'm excited to see our Pujols come back to St. Louis. I think that would look pretty cool. Second and third place, I was kind of going back and forth on. I think the Brewers are going to finish second. I think Yelich will be better than he was last year. I think the Cubs are going to finish third. The Cubs I could see coming in second place just because they made some good additions this offseason, I will admit. I still think they're third place team. And then fourth and fifth place, because I'm a Pirates fan, I'm going to joke here and say the Pirates are going to finish fourth, Reds finish last. Just kidding. The Reds will probably finish fourth. I think that Luis Castillo is going to be the big piece at the trade deadline this year. There's always that one guy that everybody covets at the deadline. This year it's going to be Luis Castillo. You heard it here first.
Any different list from you, James?
Yeah, I've got the Brewers winning the division. Christian Yelich will have a big bounce-back year, and I don't think you can understate the addition of Hunter Renfroe to that lineup. They lacked a tremendous amount of power last year, and Hunter Renfroe had 31 homers and 96 RBIs. He's going to be hitting in the middle of the order, and they're gonna benefit greatly from his presence. And I think if you look at the Brewers' rotation top to bottom, it's arguably the best in the National League or the best in baseball, right up there with the Mets, right up there with the Blue Jays. Corbin Burns, the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta, 3 All-Stars last year, who will anchor that rotation and will carry that rotation throughout the entirety of the season. Milwaukee's going to win the division. They have the best team top to bottom. St. Louis will finish in second. They can't sustain the loss of Jack Flaherty, and if there's no timetable on his return, we don't know how long he's going to be out and how effective he's going to be when he comes back. Even if he only misses a month, that month is going to be crucial. The division is bad. The Brewers and Cardinals will beat up on the teams that are worse, but the Brewers will be able to take advantage of the Cardinals missing Flaherty. Pujols, Waino, and Yachty are all old. I think their average age is, 38 and a half?
I think it's like 40.
Yeah, it's as great of a story as it may be. Can they rely on 3 guys who are that old to be cogs?
No.
Probably not. So I think St. Louis will be a competitive team, but I have them finishing in second. I have the Cubs finishing in third, the Reds finishing in fourth, and the Pirates finishing in fifth.
breaking the hearts of all of the Pirates fans out there, James.
Can I say this? Actually, when I made this list, I forgot about the Jack Flaherty injury, so I will actually switch my list. I will say Brewers finish first, and then Cardinals finish second.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think that injury pretty much for me just sealed the conversation. All right, well, I mean they're going to be relying on some question marks there if they don't have Jack Flaherty. So we just received word that we are good to go a little bit over tonight, so we'll finish up with the AL West, give our playoff predictions as well, and try not to go past 8:05. NL West, excuse me, not AL West. Yeah, an interesting division as well. I think the biggest thing I want to take away from this was, let me just quickly run off my list here, Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Rockies, D-backs. I don't have the Giants repeating their success. This is a team that got a career year from a lot of guys, and I don't think it's going to happen again. I have them in third. I just don't think it's going to happen again, and I am of the opinion that Gabe Kapler is not some wonder manager. He's not that great. This is a rotation that lost Kevin Gausman. Did do a good job of replacing him with some other key pieces. But the rest of the guys that really contributed for him last year, Posey's gone. I don't think Crawford does anything like that again. I don't think Lamonte Wade Jr. does anything like that again. I don't think Darren Ruff does that again. You know what I mean? These are guys that were just old and had their one career year last year. It's not going to happen again. They're not going to win 100, and they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, just a quick point. I'll go second just because mine is really short. I have the same exact list as you.
Okay.
I think it's going to be the same thing. All right. James?
Yeah, I have the Dodgers winning the West. I have the Padres. The Dodgers are the best. They're the best of the best and all that. I have the Padres in second. The Giants in third. They're going to take a step back. I don't think they're going to finish under 500, but they're not going to win 107 again. I have the Rockies in fourth and the Diamondbacks in fifth. But I think 4 or 5 could flip-flop. I think Arizona could finish in fourth with some of the young talent that they have, and Colorado could slumber to a fifth-place finish.
Yeah, by the way, an Arizona team that we forgot to mention did lock up Ketel Marte.
Yeah, you know what? I got Arizona finishing in fourth, and I've got Colorado finishing in fifth.
All right, very respectable. You don't think Chris Bryant is enough?
Yeah, Chris Bryant and Ryan McMahon are awesome, but what pitching do they have?
Literally none.
Yeah, I think
Antonio Senzatella?
Don't they still have Marquez, don't they?
they have Marquez, but I think...
Gotta imagine he'll be traded, right?
Yeah, you'd imagine he'd be traded. I think the Rockies sell-off begins soon. I think Arizona, with Ketel Marte, bounce back from Christian Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Debating fourth and fifth in the NL West doesn't matter, but I think Arizona will be the better of the two.
For sure. Well, in that case, why don't we go ahead and go with the playoff picks? Back to the AL. We got 6 teams. We already know 3 of them. Robbie, your 3, correct me if I'm wrong, were already going to be the Blue Jays, the White Sox, and the Astros for the division winners. So why don't we go ahead and hear the 3 wildcard teams?
Yeah, so this is pretty tough for me. So we got 3 teams in the AL that go in the wild card, correct?
That's correct.
So I have the Rays, the Yankees, and the Mariners. My bold take is the Red Sox are going to miss the playoffs. Like I said, they are going to be the most disappointing team.
More than like the Giants?
In the MLB this season. I mean, can we say that the Giants are disappointing when
if
we're
you won
expecting
107 games?
But we're expecting them to be disappointing this season, right? Like all 3 of us have them finishing third place and not even coming close to 107 wins again. So to me, I think the Red Sox are going to win 80 games maybe and miss the playoffs.
That's pretty bold. Well, while you still have it, why don't you go ahead and just say who the pennant is?
I have. Should I say my World Series? Just a pennant.
Just pennant.
I got the Blue Jays.
Blue
Jays are going to the World Series this year.
AL
We're
champs.
getting a World Series in Canada.
All right, first time in a while. James, how about you? 3 wildcard teams in your pennant.
Yeah, so my 3 playoff division winners again were the Blue Jays, the White Sox, and the Astros. My 3 wildcard teams are the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Tampa Bay Rays. I've got 4 AL East teams in the playoffs. So all you people who are freaking out that I have the Rays finishing fourth, they're still making the playoffs. They're ahead of Seattle. This division is loaded. You can make an argument for any one of these teams to win the division, to win the pennant. You have a White Sox team, you have an Astros team who will obviously be there for contention. I think it's going to set up for a really exciting postseason, and I'm excited to see how everything plays out in the American League. I think the Mariners could replace one of those AL East teams, but I think they're just barely going to miss.
Yeah, very good points as well. My 3 were the Rays, the White Sox, and the Astros. For the wild card, Blue Jays, Yankees, Angels are my 3 for that. I also have the Red Sox missing the playoffs.
Can I say one thing? Where do you have the Red Sox finishing under 500? Like where's the talent gap?
Are you asking Robbie? Because I don't have them under 500.
I mean, both. Number 1, the back end of the rotation, like I said, the bullpen. I think I have a question mark. Also, I don't know how good JD Martinez is going to be this year. I mean, I think he's getting up there in age. I mean, we've seen him slow down a little bit. He was pretty bad in the second half, if I remember correctly. I remember a lot of Red Sox fans were really frustrated with him. Does Trevor Story help? Absolutely. But, I think the bullpen problems. I think the back end of the rotation and the Chris Sale injury, I think those outweigh any potential benefits that Trevor Story might bring to the team.
Here is my other thing with the Red Sox. The day you ask me could have me switch if it's the Yankees or the Red Sox making. I legitimately think they are very equal, and it could be either one. But I think whichever team doesn't make it is going to lose out to either Mariners or the Angels in the AL West.
I will say this, though. One quick point. I will give the Red Sox some credit. I think that Alex Cora might be the second or third best manager in the American League right now.
He's a good manager.
So I think that will help them a little bit. But like I said, I think the rotation, the back end of the rotation, the bullpen, I just have too many concerns with.
Yeah, I mean, I'll double down on that and say Alex Cora is the best manager in the American League. He should have won Manager of the Year in 2018. I think you have some other great managers, but I think especially in the postseason, AC knows how to get the best out of his players. Chaim Bloom is a smart man. He knows how to build a team. Chris Sale is going to be back in the middle of May or the end of May at the latest. Evaldi last year was the most valuable pitcher in terms of WAR in the American League. Adding Houck to the rotation, yes, you have Walker. At the back end, you're not going to have Paxton back till July, so you have veterans that might not be there. But Michael Wacha against the Yankees last year pitched 18 1/3, gave it 3 earned runs. There's a reason why Chaim Bloom went to go get him.
I think it could be either team.
Right? No, exactly. But I'm saying again, 4 AL East teams are going to make the playoffs, and we'll see how it shakes out. But the Red Sox are going to be right in the thick of it.
Agreed.
And now let's go to the NL.
Yeah. Well, my pennant actually then was also the Blue Jays. I do think the Blue Jays will win the AL. NL.
Do we get your pennant?
Yeah.
My pennant, I'll double down on it. It's the Red Sox. They were 2 games away from the World Series last year. They're going to have Sale back. They'll have Paxton back by July. Again, they're going to be a wild card team, but they had the experience from last year. And watch out for Tristan Casas to come up. He's the number 18 prospect in baseball. Take over at first base. They'll move Dahlbeck to the outfield to make the lineup even deeper. Dahlbeck was a top 5 hitter in baseball in the second half last year. Alex Cora knows how to manage in the postseason, and let's go with it.
All right, NL, real quickly here. For my 3 wildcard teams, going to have to be the Phillies, Mets, and the Padres. I think the Padres do bounce back from a disappointing season, make that. And if I had to pick right now off the top of my head, I would just go ahead and give the NL to the Dodgers. It's a stacked roster.
I've got the Dodgers, the Brewers, and the Mets, and then my 3 wildcard teams, the Braves, the Phillies, and the Padres. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Padres. Obviously, They had a disappointing season last year, and Tatis is out 2 to 3 months, but they're still talented in a less deep NL than AL. It's much easier to predict the NL. I think the only 2 other teams that'll be in contention for a wild card would be the Giants and the Cardinals in terms of record wise. And for the pennant, why not go with the Dodgers? They're the best team. They added an MVP, a World Series champion. They're loaded. It's the Dodgers.
Let's put it this way: there's no reason why they shouldn't.
Exactly. And Dave Roberts said, we will win the World Series. That only does you more harm than good ever.
Hey, he got extended right after he said it.
But the Dodgers should make the World Series. No excuse not to.
100% agree. Robbie, go ahead. 3 wildcard teams, and who is the NL pennant?
This is another one I had a difficult time with, I will be honest. I felt more confident in my awards and my standings predictions, but I think that with the wildcard teams, I do think your Phillies will finally make it, Andrew.
It's all I want.
Congratulations.
It's all I want.
Your Phillies will finally make it. The Padres are going to make it this year, and, I know I said the Mets were going to finish second in the East, but I really think injuries are going to be railed in this season. So, for this sake, I'm going to say that they don't get a wild card spot.
Wow.
And that last wild card spot.
So that means the Phillies have to come in second then by your list.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to switch mine around and say the Phillies will come in second, Mets come in third. So, because I've been thinking about it a little bit, and I'm changing things up a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're talking to a guy, by the way, who's not good at predicting. But then so it's going to be the Phillies, the Padres, and the Cardinals in the wild card.
And who wins the NL?
The Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, I bet.
They have to. For my World Series prediction, really quickly.
Well, we both have the Jays and the Dodgers.
Correct.
So, what do you got?
I got the Dodgers winning in 7 games. It's going to be an incredible World Series. And I think, by the way, at the deadline, I don't know who it's going to be. The Blue Jays are going to get a reliever. They're going to get a big-time reliever. And
they have to.
They have to.
They have to.
And one quick point. I think this is the first time in Nation's pastime history where I didn't pick the Yankees to come out of the American League. So
I think you're right.
I think it is. So I might be changing things up a little bit. Maybe this is our year then.
If people want to call me a homer, this is the first time I picked the Red Sox to come. I did not pick them.
I'd be careful doing that.
I did not pick them the last 3 years. No, but I'm saying I call it as I see it. I'm not just going to pick them because I think that, just because they're my team.
All right. So Red Sox Dodgers World Series. We have a rematch of 2018 in James's eyes. Who's coming out on top?
The Red Sox in
Completely-
7, but in LA.
okay, all
But
right.
it'll be in LA. I don't think they're going to get home field advantage, obviously.
Okay.
Well, I trust Alex Cora in the postseason. Again, every year it comes down to being a good manager in the postseason.
Hey, you know what? That's fine.
One quick question, though.
Yeah.
Do you think James? This is James because he thinks the Red Sox are going to win the World Series. Do you think the Red Sox are going to make a big trade? If so, who would it be? Because to me, I don't think this is a World Series team, but I want to know.
This is something we can also tackle next week. We are running out of time here.
Yeah, they'll get a right fielder, whether they sign Conforto or upgrade an outfielder. We can talk about that next week. But.
Okay.
For sure. All right. Well, that'll wrap up the.
No, who do you have winning?
Oh, that is right. I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I did not give my World Series prediction.
Oh.
Yeah. This is the Dodgers World Series. They finally get their World Series that isn't in a Mickey Mouse year. And let me put it this way: if it doesn't happen, there's no excuse for that. There's just not. This team needs to win the World Series. Although I will say I agree with the take that Robbie had about the Blue Jays and them getting a big reliever at the deadline and going deep into the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good team. It's a very good baseball team.
Very good team. Honestly, I don't think that there are any really bad answers with some things we've discussed tonight.
Yeah.
Whether I may agree or disagree with James's Red Sox take,
Well, we can
We'll
talk.
get into that
We
another
can
time.
talk more about that next week, and we'll also have player award predictions as well for you, along with talking and recapping some of the spring training games. As next week during our live show, we will be 2 days away from opening day. Very exciting stuff. Thankful that baseball is almost back, and thankful for you all for listening in tonight. We'll be live again next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, follow us on Instagram at @PastimeCap for all show updates, and we'll catch you next week.
peace out.